Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. It's day 60 of our 100 days of coding challenge in JavaScript. Today's challenge is all about sorting an array in a descending order without using any inbuilt method. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. In the VS Code, we have our question along with the sample input and output, right? So let us read out the question. What is the question? We have to write a JavaScript function to sort an array in an descending order without using any inbuilt method, right? And if we see our input, what we have been provided with an array, right? And if you see in the output, it is a descending order sorted array, correct? That is, if you see the input is what? 615243, and what do you have in the output? You have 654321. So it has been sorted, but it is in a descending order. So this is what we have to do. So let us come down and we will break down this particular question. So first of all, what we have to write? We have to write a JS function, right? So I will write here what? JS function, okay? And in the next line, what we are going to write? We are going to write, we have to sort an array in descending order, right? So we will come here and we will put here that as well. Now what we will keep our function name? We will keep our function name as what? Sort array, because we want to sort an array, right? So let us come here and keep our function name as sort array with a parenthesis, okay? Now let us come down and understand this particular question, okay? How we are going to solve it. So for that, we are going to write here approach, okay? So now let us come down and we will understand the approach, okay? In this question, we are going to use a nested for loop, okay? So I will just write here what? Nested for loop. Now you will say why we need a nested for loop here, because if you see the input and output, okay? What is the input? It is a scattered, right? What is the output? Here we have arranged, or you can say it is being sorted in a descending order, right? So there you need a comparison, right? That you are going to compare 6 with 1, 6 with 5, 6 with 2, 6 with 4, 6 with 3, so on, right? That is what here you will do. You will compare it and you will sort it here, correct? So that is why we will need a for loop here, and that too we are going to use a nested for loop, because we want to compare our each element of the array with the other, okay? So how you are going to write? Nested for loop means you will have your I loop, and inside that you will be writing your J loop, okay? Now let us see how we are going to write it, okay? So we will write here what? For. Then we will write here let I is equal to 0. Why? Because it's an array, right? Our array index starts at 0. So obviously, whenever we are working with an array and with a loop, you will have to write here I is equal to 0. Okay. And then what we will do? I is less than ARR dot length, right? And then we will write here what? I plus plus. Okay. Now this I loop will be responsible for what? The number of iterations. First, it is going to do our number of iterations. So how many iterations we have to perform here? If you count this, there are 6 elements here, right? The length of the array is what? 6, right? So that means we have to perform here what? 6 iterations. So our I loop will be responsible for performing the number of iterations. If you had 10 elements, it will perform 10 iterations. So the first thing, it is going to take care of the number of iterations, okay? Now inside this, we have to write our J loop, right? So we will come here and we will write here J loop. And this is going to start at what? This will not start at J is equal to 0. It will start at J is equal to I. So I will write here what? J is equal to I. Now your question will be why J is equal to I? Because when we start J is equal to I, we will not be comparing the element with itself, okay? Because whenever we are performing it, we will see that it is getting sorted out. So after getting sorted out, we don't want to compare which has been already sorted, right? So we are not going to compare an element which is sorted and with itself also we don't want. That is why we will start our J loop as J is equal to I, and we will end this loop at ARR dot length minus 1 only. So I will put here what? J less than ARR dot length, right? And then we will increment this as well, okay? Now, what is this J loop will be responsible? If I have to say alone J loop cannot do anything, we will have to take help of I loop also. So both I and J loop will be responsible for selecting the element and comparing the each and every element. So here both of them will select and we are going to compare, okay? Now we know if we want to compare what we are going to use, we are going to use our if condition, okay? So we will come here and we will write our if condition. And in this now, what will be the condition now? Here the condition we are going to write, always our I value should be lesser than our J value. So I will write here what our I value should be lesser than our J value. So what will be the condition then inside it? ARR of I should be lesser than ARR of J. Now I will tell you the first iteration how it is going to perform, okay? So now what will be the I value? I value will be 6, correct? Because I is going to start at what? 0. What is the 0th index? It is 6, right? So I value will be 6. Now what will be J value? J value will also be 6, right? Because J is equal to I, right? So I will write here what? J is equal to 6, okay? Now then it will come here to the condition and it will what? Check 6 is lesser than 6 or not, okay? Here it will get false and it will not enter inside our if condition, okay? Now after that what will happen? Our I value will remain constant here again. So I value will be 6 and our J value is going to increase, right, by 1. So if it is J plus plus, then it is going to go for the next index. So it will go for our first index. So it will check for 6 is lesser than 1 or not, okay? After that, so on it is going to do. Then again your I value will remain the same, okay? And what it will check here now, I'll take this down. Then what it will check now, I value will be the same. So 6 and it is going to check with what? With 5. And so on it is going to perform. Now this is when I is equal to 0th index. That means I is equal to 6. Similarly, now it will go for the next thing. So we will see this everything inside our function. I will console it each and everything and I will explain you in detail about the iteration, what is J going to do, what is I going to do, and what we are going to do inside our if condition. Now, what is the next thing? Now we need to know, right? In this if condition, we are going to compare it, correct? But comparison only will not give me the sorted array, right? So then what we have to do inside this, we have to do the swapping, okay? We know that how to swap, right? So we have done swapping in 2 different ways in the previous challenges, right? What we do, we declare a temporary variable and then we assign the values to it, right? So temporary variable will have your first variable value, right? After that, what you will do, your first variable will have your second variable value, correct? And then your second variable value will be assigned to which value? The temporary value, right? So that is what we are going to do here. So we have done the swapping in our previous challenges. So I request you all, please watch those videos as well. You will understand swapping in much better way, okay? So once our swapping is completed, it is going to update our original array. So after all the iterations are completed, we will have a values with an updated array, that too of a swapped values. So then it will be in a sorted form. And then once our entire iterations are completed, we will log our final array and that array will be a sorted array. Let us come down and implement the same thing inside our function. So I will write here what function and our function name will be what? Sort array, right? Let us quickly invoke it. Okay, so I will write here what? Sort array. And in this we are going to pass our input array, right? So let us take this input array which is written at line number 4 and we will pass it over here, right? As an argument. okay? Now let us receive here at line number 22 as a param. So I will write here what? ARR, correct? And let us quickly console it out. So I will write here what? Console.log ARR, correct? And let us test it in the terminal. So we will write here node day 60 challenge, correct? And we will hit enter. So what we got our input array. That means this function is successfully working, okay? Now let us write our nested for loop inside this. So we will come here and we will first write our I loop, okay? So we will write here what? For let I is equal to 0, correct? And I should be lesser than what? ARR dot length, correct? Because it should run till length minus 1, correct? So that is why we are going to do it here what? I less than ARR dot length, right? And then we will write here what? I plus plus, correct? Now let us come down and we will write our J loop also. Now J should start from where? I, right? So I will write here what? For J is equal to I, correct? And then J should also be less than what? ARR dot length, correct? And then here it will be what? J plus plus, okay? So before writing our if condition, what we are going to do here, we will be just writing a console.log statement, and in this we are going to print it what happens when I is equal to 0, J is equal to I, and we will get the values also at that positions, okay? So let us use our template literals, and I will write here what? I is equal to dollar of I, okay? So that means I will get here what? I is equal to 0, okay? Now let us write here what? J is equal to dollar of J, right? So that means what we will get here? When J is equal to I, that means I is equal to 0 and J is equal to 0, correct? After that, let us write here the values also, okay? So we will come here and write what? ARR of I, okay? ARR of I is equal to dollar flower braces ARR of I. So we will get here I is equal to 0. At that time, what is the I value? That means it is 6, right? And at that time, what is the J value also? So we will write here what? ARR of J, and we will write here what? Dollar ARR of J, okay? So let us come here and we will just test it in the terminal. What do we get, okay? So we will come here and we will write here what? Node day 60 challenge, and we will hit enter. Now let us come here and we will understand the iterations, okay? So what is happening? And then we will go and understand how we can sort, okay? So if you see here, what do we have? I is equal to 0, J is equal to 0, right? And these are the values we are getting when I is equal to 0 and J is equal to 0. So we can see clearly here, when I is equal to 0, what will be the value? 6. When J is equal to 0, what will be the value? 6 again. Why? Because we are starting here J is equal to I. Because of that reason, okay? Now when we are doing this, I is equal to 0 and I is lesser than ARR dot length and I plus plus, what it is going to do? It will check for the condition, right? That it is going to be true or false. It is true, right? And it will increment as well. So we will get here what? After I is equal to 0, it will increment and keep what? I is equal to 1, right? So I will write here what? I is equal to 1. So that is what we are going to get here, correct? After that, what will happen? It will enter inside this J loop, right? Now what we have written? J is equal to I, right? So J will start also at I. That means here we will have J is equal to 0. That is what we are getting here. J is equal to 0. And we have checked what is the value also. Its value will be what? 6. That we have already got here, correct? Now after that, it will check the condition, correct? The condition turns out to be true, right? So it is going inside and it is printing me this line, correct? And then it is going to increment also. So after that, what you will get? J plus plus. So that means J value will become 1, right? Similarly, it will again check for this condition, right? And then it will print this line and it will increment also. So we will get here what? J is equal to 2. And it will go till what point? J is equal to 5, right? That is what you are getting here. J is equal to 0, J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2, J is equal to 3, J is equal to 4, and J is equal to 5. When it reaches to J is equal to 6 now, the condition will fail, okay? The condition will fail and here the loop is going to terminate, okay? So we will get here what? Termination at this point, correct? And then because of this termination, what will happen? It will go again to your I loop, okay? So it will come here and increment. We have already done I is equal to 1, and that is where now it will be I is equal to 1 and it will check 1 is less than ARR dot length or not. And if it is true, it is going to enter inside our J loop and it will increment as well, right? That is why you see you have here iterations, correct? So first time it is going to iterate here like this, then I is equal to 1, and then again it is going to iterate like this, I is equal to 2, and then again it is going to iterate. Here only the change is what? Since we have written j is equal to I, that is where you are going to start here. Now, first time j is equal to 0, right? Here it will start then j is equal to 1, correct? Because j value depends upon our I value, right? So that is why you are going to get it. And here there will be a one less iteration because it is not going to start from 0. So it will start from 1 to 5, correct? Then in the next iteration, it will start from 2, right? And that is where you are going to get one less iteration here again. So it will be what? From 2 to 5, right? So that is why you are getting this iteration here, correct? And it is going so on. So if you see here, now I is equal to 3, that is where j is equal to 3, correct? And that is where j is equal to 3, j is equal to 4, and j is equal to 5. So here, since we are starting with j is equal to I, you will have a less iterations when you proceed here. So one iteration will always be less here, okay? Now let us come here inside it. Now we have to write our if condition to compare, right? Now we will be using both the loops for selecting and comparing it up, right? So now what we will write here, what? If condition we are going to write. And we will write here what? If ARR of I, the same logic what I have explained you here, okay? I value should be lesser than j value, okay? So that is why we are going to write ARR of I lesser than ARR of j, okay? So that is what I am going to write here. And inside this, we are going to write our swapping logic, okay? So before swapping, we will check whether it is entering inside this if condition or not, okay? So what we will do, we will come here and we will take this console.log statement and we will put it as it is, okay? And we will write here what? Inside I will just write here. Inside I will write, and we will write here what? With a hyphen, because I want to show you each and everything what is happening inside it, okay? So let us come here and we will clear the terminal and we will rerun it one more time, okay? So we will write here what? Node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter, okay? So now what do you see? This is our array, right? So if you see in the terminal, we have got this values, right? Now for this values, our if condition is turning out to be false. That is why it is not entering inside this if condition, okay? Similarly here as well, for all these cases also, it is turning out to be false. That is why it is not allowed to enter and go inside our if condition. So let us see while we are comparing when we are getting true, when we are getting false. So we will understand this question very deeply, okay? So let us write here what? Console.log, and we will use our this comparison only. So I will first use my template literal and I will write here what? Dollar, and I will write here ARR of I, okay? Then we will come outside and we will write here lesser than symbol, and I will write here what? Dollar, flower braces, ARR of j, right? After that, what we will do, we will use is equal to, and we will write here what? Dollar, and inside this we will write ARR of I, okay, lesser than ARR of j. Like this we are going to write it, okay? Now let us rerun it and test it in our terminal. So first I will clear the terminal, okay? Now let us write here what? Node day 60 challenge, and we will hit enter, okay? Now let us see here. Now you will see here in the first instance what you are getting. This is our array, right? When this is the value, it is comparing and it is giving false. 6 is less than 6? No, right? 6 is equal to 6. So it turns out to be false. Here also 6 is lesser than 1? No. Here also 6 is lesser than 5. No. So when the values are j is equal to 0, j is equal to 1, j is equal to 3, when I is equal to 0, you have the values here, right? Now you can easily see here and watch out. Okay, so please pause here for some time and do watch out and understand the iteration very clearly, because here I have shown you very nicely what is your I value, what is your j value, what is the value inside the array, and when it is turning out true and false. Now you see, when I is equal to 1 and j value is 2, that means there it is going inside it, right? So that means when your, for the first iteration, when I is equal to 0, every time it is turning out to be false. Because if you see here also, 6 is greater, right? And we have written our 6 should be lesser, but it is not ideally, right? Our I value should be lesser. That is why it is turning out to be false. Now, that is where the loop terminates here, right? Because it goes till j is equal to 5 and it finds out that there is no value to increment it, correct? And here the condition fails and the loop terminates. Our first iteration is completed, and in the comparison it is getting every time false. Okay, now here our j loop will terminate and again it will go to our I loop and it will see I is equal to 1. Okay, and I is less than arr dot length, it is true, and it will increment and keep I is equal to 2 also, and it will enter inside our for loop. Okay, now it inside our for loop, that means our j loop, right? So what it will see, j is equal to I, that is nothing but what, j is equal to 1, right? Because I is equal to 1, and you get here values also what, 1 1, because here the value is what, 1, correct? That is where you are getting here 1. Okay, now it will check 1 is less than 1, no, right? It is equal to, that is where you are getting false, correct? Then it will go for j is equal to 2. Then it sees j is equal to 2. That means, okay, j is equal to 2 means now it is 5, right? Because 0, 1 and 2, correct? So you get your value as what? 5, correct? That is where now it will test. 1 is less than 5. Yes, it is true. That is where it will go inside the loop and it will give us this particular console.log statement. Similarly, it will go down. When j is equal to 3, what is the j value? J value becomes what? 2, right? That is what we have here. Everything I have consoled here and I am showing you very nicely here, okay? And then you are going to compare. 1 is lesser than 2. Yes, it is true. So it goes inside and here also it prints. Similarly for when j is equal to 4. Similarly, for the next iteration, it is going to happen the same. Now we have understood how this I and j loop is working and when it is going inside it, right? Now what we can do, now we will come here inside our if condition, we have to sort also, right? The comparison matrix we have completed here. Now what we have to do, we are going to do here what? Swapping. Okay, because we have to sort. So what we will do inside this, first I will write here what? Console.log of ARR. Okay, so I will write here what? Inside template literals, let us write here dollar and I will write here just our array. Okay, and we will write here what? Before swapping. Okay, now let us see what happens. Okay, before swapping. So we will come here and we will do a swapping. So we are going to get our array, and whenever we want to print an array, we will have to put it inside a square bracket, right? Now let us declare a temporary variable. Okay, so I will write here what? Let temp is equal to, here itself I am going to write it. So let temp is equal to ARR of I, right? Okay, after that what we will do, we will have to assign our second variable value. So I will write here what? ARR of I is equal to what? ARR of j, correct? Now inside our j value, what we are going to put? Our temporary variable value, right? That is we have seen. So I will write here what? Our j is equal to nothing but our temp, right? Now this is what we are going to do. And now here once again we will take this line and we will write here printing after our swapping. Okay, so after swapping I will write here our array also. Okay, and then what we will write here, let us, this is our j loop ending, right? So we will write here what? Console.log, that also let us write it. Okay, for better debugging. So I will write here inside this what? Our j loop ends. Okay, j loop ends and I loop starts. Just I am writing for the debugging purpose, okay? What will happen when it is swapping, the array will keep on updating it, right? Because we are updating the values here, right? So the comparison is going to change here. When it is comparing and when it is swapping, first time you will get 6. Then it is 5. So you will compare it with the rest of the values. So after swapping, your array values are also going to change. So let us come here and we will clear the terminal now and we will rerun it one more time and we will see that as well. So what we will write? We will write here what node and I will write here day 60 challenge and we will hit enter. Now you see here what we will get. Let us come at the top, okay? So this is our array, right? Now see carefully. Now this is where it is turning out to be false, okay? That is where our j loop ends and I loop is going to start again with the incremented value, correct? So that is what it is going to do. So I is equal to 1, okay? Now here also it turns out to be false. Here it turns out to be true, okay? Then it goes inside and it says this is the values. For this I am going to perform the swapping now. So if you see here, we have got before swapping values also, after swapping values also, right? And if you see 6 remains there only, right? Now why? When I is equal to 0, j is equal to 0. And for all of this, our 6 remain untouched because it did not went inside. It did not swapped, right? So our 6 remains there only, okay? Now when I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1. That means it is going to test for 1 and 1. That also turns out to be false, right? So it didn't entered inside the loop. Now, if you see here, for this instance, it turns out to be true, right? So then what happens? It comes inside our if condition and it prints this line and then it has to perform the swapping, correct? So for that, we have declared a temporary variable, right? So if you come here, what will happen to the temporary variable? What is the ARR of I? The value is nothing but 1. So temp will get assigned with 1. Then what will ARR of I will happen to it? So ARR of I will get what? The second value, that is nothing but the 5, correct? And then what will happen to this? Then ARR of j will get what? ARR of j I will write and we will get here what? 1. So if you see at the end of the day, it was 1 and 5. Now it is 5 and 1. So it has swapped, correct? And then your array is also getting updated. So that is where it will get what? 6, 5, 1, 2, 4, 3. Now after swapping, what we have to do? We will have to work with the updated array values, okay? So we have done what here? When I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1, j is equal to 2, right? We got the values. Then j is equal to 3, it is false. For j is equal to 4 also it is false. And for 5 is equal to false, then the loop ends here, right? And that is where we are going to again go and increment our value as I is equal to 2. And the same thing will happen here. Now, if you go down, you can see very clearly again here when it turns out to be true, it has been swapped here, correct? Then again here, it turns out to be true. Again, the swapping has been done. So it has to go on with the same process. If you understood at a very first level, you will not get confused anywhere. So please have a pause on this and understand the iteration and understand the swapping, how it is performed. If this condition is turning out to be true, then it will go inside and it will swap and it will sort it in a descending order, okay? So that is where we have done all of the iterations and I have debugged it very nicely, okay? Now, after all this iterations is completed, we will come here and after this I loop, we are going to print our final array. So we will write here what? Just I will write ARR, okay? Now let us just comment out line number 23 and the rest of the console.log statements also. So I will write here 28 also, removing this console.log statement also, this also, and this as well, right? And j loop ends here, this console.log statement. So all the console.log statements I have removed. Let us clear the terminal and we can just write here what? Node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter. What do we get? If you see, we have got our sorted array in a descending order. If you want, you can uncomment this and keep it also so that you can see what is your sorted array, right? So let us write here what node 60 challenge and we can hit enter. And we can write here what before swap and after swap. Okay, that's it. I will write. So let us write here before sorting. And here I will write what after sorting. Okay. So just let us write here after sorting. Okay, now let us come here and clear the terminal and rerun it. So I will write here what node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter. What we got before sorting, it was this much, and after sorting, it was like this. Now, if you see in the terminal, we are getting the exact output. This is what it was expected from us. Okay. Now let us come here and take another array also and we will do the sorting. Okay. So I will write here what sort array, and in this we are going to pass the array. So let us write 90, 77, and then we will write 100. Let us write 450 and let us see how it is going to perform. So let us write here node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter one more time. So if you see 450, 100, 90 and 77. So we are able to perform this successfully, right? That means we have sorted here, okay? Now let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So if you see at the top what it was been asked, we have to write a JS function to sort an array in a descending order without using inbuilt methods, right? And we were given what input and output as well, right? The sample input and output, right? And then we came down and we understood the approach as well as we defined our JS function, right? What we kept the name sort array, right? And we understood in the approach that we have to take a nested loop here because we want to compare, right? Our I loop will be responsible for the number of iterations, and then inside that our J loop and I loop both will be responsible for comparing, selecting and swapping the arrays, right? That is what we have done, and inside that we have used our if condition for comparing, and then inside that we wrote a logic for swapping, right? Then at line number 22, we wrote our function and we debugged here line by line and we understood what happens after each iteration, what are the values also, how the comparison is getting performed, right? Each and everything we have tested in the terminal, okay? And we have seen that as well, right? And then later on at line number 42 and line number 23, we just improvised our console.log statement also, that before swapping what we get, after swapping what we are going to get, right? So at line number 42, we have printed our final array. That is nothing but the sorted array, right? So once all the iterations are completed, we have printed our sorted array. Then at line number 44 and 45, we have invoked here by passing the two different arrays, correct? So now if I have to tell you for the first input array, what it is happening, elements are compared pairwise using nested loops, right? The first value is smaller than the second, they are swapped. And this process is repeated until the array is sorted in descending order. And that is where we get here our final output, right? So let us come here and clear the terminal and retest it. So I will write here what? Node day 60 challenge and we will hit enter. So we got this sorted arrays, right, in a descending order, correct? Now I will tell you guys why this challenge is important, because it helps in understanding the sorting algorithms and the logic behind them. It also reinforces the use of nested loops, conditional statements and variable swapping. Also, debugging is a key. So use console.log statements wisely to track the progress of your loops and variables during execution. So that's it guys for today. So keep challenging yourself and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I will see you tomorrow with another exciting challenge. So thank you so much guys. Take care. Bye-bye.